Hi, my name's Sarah Holmes. I'm a zoologist and run EnviroEDU, a local environmental organisation based in Mildura. Today we're going to be talking about biodiversity and some of the threatened species that are found within the Mildura Rural City region. The Mildura Rural City is in northwest Victoria and covers almost 10% of the state. We have a diversity of landscapes, and with the Murray River along the border of New South Wales, the region is a vibrant and productive part of Australia. The region is home to about 53,000 people and supports significant environmental, cultural, social and economic values. Today we're going to focus on some of those environmental values. Biodiversity is the variety of all life forms on Earth, the various plants, animals and microorganisms that make up a particular ecosystem. Biodiversity is important for sustaining life on Earth and is often used to measure the health of an ecosystem. In general, an area with a greater number of species is considered to be far healthier than an area with far fewer species. Habitat is the natural environment where an animal lives. Within the Mildura Rural City, we are very lucky to have a huge diversity of habitats, ranging from freshwater rivers, wetlands and floodplains, through to the drier semi-arid regions of Chenopod mallee and Spinifex mallee areas. Each habitat supports a different range of plants and animals. A threatened species is an animal, a plant or ecological community that is declining in number and potentially at risk of becoming extinct. The Murray-Darling or inland carpet python is named after the two major river systems where this species occurs. This stunning snake is a python, meaning it is not venomous but relies on constriction to suffocate its prey. Their magnificent colours and patterns help them to camouflage within their habitat. This is usually hollow-bearing river red gum or black box trees or logs within riparian and floodplain habitat. They are sometimes found in areas with rocky outcrops. They are a mid-sized carpet python averaging just over 2 metres in length, but they have been known to grow longer than 2.7 metres. They are most active at dawn, dusk and at night, but are known to bask out in the winter sun. Being ectothermic or cold-blooded, these guys need external heat sources such as the sun to warm themselves up. Pythons, like all snakes, flick out their forked tongues, picking up scent particles and effectively tasting the air. Their tongue presses against the Jacobson's organ on the roof of their mouth, which acts a bit like a computer and tells them information about their environment. Their forked tongues provide directional information. Their heat-sensing pits along the side of their mouth help them to detect their warm-blooded prey. Their diet would have once been a varied mix of small marsupials, mice, rats, birds, eggs and bats. However, with many of our small to mid-sized marsupials extinct, in some areas of Australia this python has adapted to feed on introduced rabbits as their main food source. Once common throughout the entire Murray-Darling Basin, this species of python has declined across most of its range and is now considered endangered in Victoria and rare in South Australia. This is due to a number of threats including habitat loss via land clearing, grazing pressures, predation by introduced predators such as foxes, and unfortunately there are still cases of them deliberately being killed by humans. The single greatest thing we can do to protect Murray-Darling carpet pythons is to protect their habitat. Remember, when camping by the river, don't burn the large hollow logs on the campfire. Keep these logs on the ground as homes for our native Australian animals. Regent parrots are a beautiful bird, with the males like Pedro displaying a bright yellow body and head and blue-black wings and tail. They have red patches on their wings and generally a bright orange beak. The females and juveniles are a duller olive green with less red on the wing and pink under the tail. They are extremely fast flying and nicknamed smokers because of their speed in flight. Their distinctive call is quite often heard before you see them. The eastern subspecies is only found within the mallee regions of southeastern Australia. They rely on two habitats, Their nesting habitat are large hollows or stumps of river red gum close to watercourses. Yet they feed inland within mallee vegetation. They are also known to feed on the ground on spilt grain or up in the tree canopy. Locally, regent parrot populations are known from the Murray Sunset National Park, Nanjalok, Hattah-Kulkyne National Park, Yungra Island near Robinvale and across the river at Euston, and Weiperfeld National Park. Regent parrots breed between August and December, with 4 to 6 white round eggs usually laid within the nest of a hollow river red gum tree. Incubation is approximately 21 days, with the male feeding the female at the entrance of the hollow during this time. The eastern regent parrot has declined in range and abundance over the last 100 years, and they're now listed as vulnerable under federal legislation. In 2001, the population was estimated to be no more than 1,500 adult breeding pairs, split between New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia. The establishment of the river red gum parks and improved vegetation clearing regulations has helped to secure the known breeding sites for many of these birds. However, numbers are still lower than what they were 100 years ago. The major threats to regent parrots include clearing and degradation of nesting and feeding habitat, disturbance around nesting sites, competition for nest hollows, deliberate killing of birds, road kills and accidental poisoning. To protect regent parrots, it is important that we minimise disturbance during breeding and maintain vegetation corridors and feeding habitat. This is Wesley. Wesley is a brush-tailed bettong, commonly known as a woylie. A what, I hear you ask? Woylies are small nocturnal marsupials and one of Australia's most critically endangered mammals. Wes is currently snuggled up in his pouch because during the daytime they like to sleep. They grow between 28 and 45 centimetres from head to base of their tail and weigh approximately 1.8 kilograms. They have grey-brown fur covering their entire body and a furry dark brown tail which ends in a black brush, hence their name. Their long tails are prehensile, which means they can use it like a fifth limb to pick up and carry objects like grass, branches and leaves to help build their dome-shaped nests. Female woylies are smaller than the males and can breed continuously throughout the year. Depending on environmental conditions, they can produce up to 3 offspring per year. They are considered important ecosystem engineers as they forage at night, digging and turning over topsoil. This helps to cycle nutrients and improves aeration of the soil and spread fungal spores and seeds, which creates a better environment for other plants and animals. Woylies have expensive taste. They get the bulk of their nutrients from underground fungi and truffles. They also feed on roots, legumes, bulbs, seeds, insects and carrion. Pre-European settlement, brush-tailed bettongs inhabited 60% of mainland Australia, ranging from Western Australia, Northern Territory, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales and Southern Queensland. Unfortunately, brush-tailed bettong are now extinct across most of its range and only found within 3 remnant populations in southwest Western Australia and offshore islands in South Australia. Habitat destruction and predation by feral predators such as cats and foxes have been the biggest contributors to the loss of this species. Thankfully, conservation organisations such as Worldwide Fund for Nature and the Australian Wildlife Conservancy are rewilding woylies into predator-proof sanctuaries to encourage a safe haven to breed and ensure genetically viable populations are maintained. Did you know that we have a critically endangered reptile living right in the centre of Mildura? The eastern hooded scaly foot is not a snake, believe it or not, it's a legless lizard. They have external ear openings which snakes don't have, and reduced hind limbs that look like flaps against the sides of their body. Unlike a snake with a forked tongue, legless lizards have broad fleshy tongues. They have been measured at 45 centimetres from head to tail and have a dark hood on the top of their head which resembles the markings of a juvenile brown snake. This, together with the ability when threatened to raise the head and top third of their body, are presumably adaptations to mimic a venomous snake to avoid predation. The hooded scalyfoot feeds mainly on insects and spiders, and the female usually lays 2 eggs in a soil crack in summer. The eggs hatch 2 to 3 months later. These little guys live in low chenopod shrubland, usually on red clay loam soils of black box woodlands, but they've also been found in grassland ecosystems. They are predominantly nocturnal, although in milder weather can be active during the day. They shelter in burrows and soil cracks, under fallen timber, rocks, dead vegetation and grass tussocks. Although this species is common in inland South Australia, New South Wales, Queensland and the Northern Territory, it's only known from a few isolated populations of northwestern Victoria and is now considered critically endangered. The biggest threats to eastern hooded scalyfoot are introduced predators such as foxes and cats. Habitat destruction from land clearing, ploughing of paddocks and disturbance to soil cracks has also been significant. Eastern hooded scalyfoot are found in 2 localities within the Mildura Rural City region. Ned's Corner on the South Australian border and right here at Lake Ranfurly on the western edge of Mildura. Lake Ranfurly is a saline wetland that receives inflows from groundwater and stormwater. Surrounding vegetation is black box chenopod woodland and alluvial plains shrubland, of which provide habitat for a variety of plant and animal species. The site is significant from a cultural, social and environmental perspective. It provides a feeding ground for a number of threatened and migratory bird species. It is highly significant to our Aboriginal community, with numerous artefacts recorded, and given its proximity to the Mildura township, it is regularly used by locals for bushwalking, bird watching and bike riding. Unfortunately, due to its proximity to the town centre, Lake Ranfurly has received numerous threats over the years. These include native vegetation clearing, water pollutants, soil erosion, feral predators, invasive exotic plants, rubbish dumping, non-permitted vehicle and motorbike access and vandalism. Mildura Rural City Council, together with partner organisations Goulburn Murray Water, Lower Murray Water and V-Line, and a number of community groups are working together to mitigate these threats. Works have been undertaken to rationalise tracks, eradicate weeds, manage and remove illegally dumped rubbish, revegetation works and undertake threatened species monitoring, particularly for the eastern hooded scalyfoot. It is hoped that in time, interpretive signs will be installed for all visitors to enjoy. There are so many threats to our natural Australian ecosystems. Human-induced climate change is causing our Earth's temperature to heat up, which is having a huge impact on our native plants and animals. Continued habitat clearing and fragmentation, altered water regimes, pollution, competition and predation by pest plants and animals, and inappropriate fire regimes are other significant threats to our native flora and fauna. Unfortunately, in Australia, we have any country in the world. Many of our small to mid-sized mammals, reptiles and birds face serious threats from foxes and cats. Did you know that feral cats kill over 3 billion animals every year? And our pet cats are responsible for collectively killing 390 million animals. That equates to 186 reptiles, birds and mammals killed per pet cat per year. Staggering statistics, isn't it? So if you own a cat, please keep it indoors. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you've enjoyed learning about threatened species in our local region. Feel free to complete the learning activities after the video.